Story of Solomon. The morning sun rose over the ancient city of Gibeon, its golden rays spilling across the landscape. Birds chirped softly as wisps of smoke from cooking fires spiraled upward. Solomon, the young king of Israel, stood atop a hill overlooking the city. The weight of his new responsibilities as king pressed heavily on his shoulders. Israel was a nation united under his father David, but now it was Solomon's task to lead, to govern wisely, and to fulfill the legacy of a promise, a kingdom that would glorify God. Solomon was just a young man, not yet hardened by the trials of leadership. As he prepared for the day, he thought of his father's final words: "Walk in the ways of the Lord, keep his statutes, and you will prosper." But how could he, so inexperienced, possibly carry the burden of ruling over such a vast and diverse nation? That night, Solomon sought God with his whole heart. He went to Gibeon, where the great altar stood, and offered 1,000 burnt offerings to the Lord. The air was thick with the scent of sacrifice, the flicker of flames illuminating the solemn faces of the priests and worshippers who had gathered. Solomon knelt in prayer long after the others had departed, his face turned toward the heavens. As he drifted into sleep, God appeared to him in a dream. The voice was powerful yet gentle, filling the space around Solomon with a presence that made him tremble. "Ask for whatever you want me to give you," God said. Solomon opened his heart. "Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, but I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?" The Lord was pleased by Solomon's request. "Because you have asked for this, and not for long life or wealth for yourself, nor for the death of your enemies, but for discernment in administering justice, I will do as you have asked. I will give you a wise and discerning heart, so that there will never have been anyone like you, nor will there ever be. Moreover, I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor, so that in your lifetime you will have no equal among kings. And if you walk in obedience to me and keep my decrees, I will give you a long life." When Solomon awoke, his heart was racing. He knew he had encountered the living God. The world seemed sharper, clearer. He returned to Jerusalem and offered sacrifices before the Ark of the Covenant, reaffirming his commitment to lead with wisdom and honor. Not long after, Solomon's newfound wisdom was tested. 2 women came before him, each clutching a child. The room was silent as one of the women, her face streaked with tears, began to speak. "My lord, this woman and I live in the same house. I gave birth to a son, and 3 days later she also gave birth to a son. One night her baby died because she lay on him. She got up in the middle of the night and took my son while I was asleep, placing her dead son by my side. When I awoke to nurse my child, I saw that he was dead. But when I looked closely in the morning light, I realized it wasn't my son." The other woman interrupted, her voice sharp. "No, the living child is mine, and the dead one is hers." The argument continued, their voices rising and overlapping, until Solomon raised his hand to silence them. He looked at the 2 women, then at the child who lay sleeping in the arms of one of them. The court waited breathless as Solomon leaned forward and said, "Bring me a sword." Gasps filled the room as a guard stepped forward, his blade gleaming in the sunlight. Solomon's voice was calm, unwavering. "Cut the living child in 2 and give half to one woman and half to the other." The first woman's face crumpled with despair. She fell to her knees, crying out, "Please, my lord, give her the living baby. Do not kill him." The second woman, her face cold, shrugged. "Neither of us shall have him. Cut him in 2. Solomon's eyes hardened as he looked at the second woman. Then he turned to the guard. "Do not harm the child. Give the baby to the first woman. She is the mother." The crowd erupted in astonishment. Word of Solomon's judgment spread quickly throughout Israel, and the people marveled at the wisdom God had given their king. As the years passed, Solomon's fame grew. He oversaw the construction of the magnificent temple in Jerusalem, fulfilling his father David's dream of a permanent dwelling for the Ark of the Covenant. Gold, cedar, and precious stones adorned the structure, And when it was completed, Solomon stood before the assembly of Israel and prayed. His voice carried over the crowd as he dedicated the temple to God, acknowledging that even the heavens could not contain him. Wealth and honor poured into Israel during Solomon's reign. Kings and queens from distant lands came to hear his wisdom and see the splendor of his kingdom. The Queen of Sheba traveled with a great caravan, bringing gifts of gold, spices, and precious stones, only to leave in awe of Solomon's unparalleled insight and the prosperity of his people. But Solomon's story is not without caution. Over time, he allowed his heart to be swayed by the many foreign wives he married. They brought with them their gods and idols, and Solomon's devotion to the Lord wavered. Though he had been given extraordinary wisdom, he struggled to apply it to his own life. Even so, Solomon's legacy endures. His writings in Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and the Song of Songs reveal a man who wrestled with the complexities of life and sought to understand the fear of the Lord as the beginning of wisdom. Solomon's story is a reminder of the blessings of obedience, the dangers of compromise, and the enduring mercy of God.